Our next community table that's going to be presented by Lucy Gomez Feliciano. She is the Director of Early Learning and Health at the Logan Square Neighborhood Association. She works closely with parents, schools, and organizations to support immigrants and low-income families who have young children. Let's welcome her up for the Logan Square Blue Line station. Thank you.
All right. So most of the literature you're going to look at says Logan Square, but we take some liberties here and include Avondale and Humboldt Park because if we really think about that train station, it really touches a lot of communities, not just Logan Square. I want to say that I also grew up in Humboldt Park. It's home. I also am a homeowner in Logan Square for 21 years. And I want to thank all the people who made it possible for us to be part of this project, because I think sometimes communities like ours are kind of perceived as they don't need our help, right? It's gentrified. There's nobody who needs any help there. But I want to say that even though about 10 years ago, 80% of the population in this general area was about 80% Latino, it's currently about roughly 50%. And what's happening there is, as said by many people before me, is gentrification. And I call it a tsunami. I call it steroids. We're really in the space of trying to preserve what we have, the amazing community that we have worked so hard to build. So as was mentioned earlier, some of the core partners, but not by any means the only partners. These are the folks who sit on the steering committee. When we talk about that little spot in the middle of that half-mile red line, our community is much, as I said, much broader than that. We're talking about a train line, a train stop, a bus terminal that takes either people up to the airport or downtown, right? And when I think about the people on my block, I think about the pilot who lives across the street, and he's going to take that train, and he's going to ride that airplane. I think of my other neighbor who is going to get on that train because he or she is serving coffee or cooking some food at some restaurant. And the same goes going downtown, right? Those white-collar jobs, folks working in the nice offices, and then at night, my neighbor who goes and cleans them. So we really have this amazing diversity of folks who live in this community, and a community that's very fragile, right? It looks very diverse now, it feels diverse, but if we don't do anything about it, it's not going to be diverse for very long. So when we think of POD, unlike some of our other communities, we are very dense. There is not a lot of open space, and if there is any open space, a city lot can cost $200,000, and there aren't a lot of city-owned lots. This space that this arrow points to is a city-owned parking lot right next to the L station. As you notice, this is a very old picture that I found on Google. Look, check out the bus. It's probably the 1960s. So this is prime for us. This is like prime real estate because this is an opportunity to do the right thing. And the right thing meaning equitable TOD. And we're really excited that Michael here from Bickerdike Redevelopment is in the midst of getting that property secured with the leadership of the community and the aldermen to make that. How many units, Michael? I lose track of how many units.
I'd say 100.
Okay, 100 units. And we are really thinking about, unlike most TODs, to put some parking spots in there because some of our folks don't take the train. Some people have to work and have to leave the neighborhood on wheels because there's no other way of getting there. There's no public transportation. I'm just going to jump around here for a second. A lot of the TOD that's being built in our community looks like this. And I'm not going to tell you how much money we need to make to be able to afford those. The two towers are there. They're occupied. The other two are under construction. So if you're making $22,000 minimum wage, and let's say that's two people, $44,000, you can do the math. We can't afford to live in these. That's why we need what Bickerdike is going to be building on that lot. So what happens, as you know, affordable housing comes with a stigma. People don't want those people across the street, right? If they've invested money in a property, they don't want the values to go down. If those people come in, I'm not going to feel safe. So we have to do a lot of advocacy in our community to address the NIMBYs in our community. And some of those NIMBYs look like me. So this is really real. We've done it before with Bickerdike, and we're going to do it again. And we do it, and we've been doing it for a long time, right? Logan Square isn't what it is today. Humboldt Park isn't what it is today. Avondale isn't what's today because we sat around and hoped for things to happen. We have young people who fight, who work, young activists. We also work closely with neighborhood schools. Just a little tidbit about our schools. 9 Logan Square schools lost in the last 5 years $16.8 million. That's almost 30% of their budget. I always say, if you want to know if there's something happening in the neighborhood, go talk to a school principal. Ask them about their enrollment. It's like the canary in the coal mine. Our folks are scared. Our folks are scared that they're not going to have a place to live. Where are they going to go? They're being pushed out. But we're really excited because our young people, through this project, they're going to be doing urban planning and placement project. And that's very exciting. Our parents, they're relentless. They'll stand up to anybody that'll listen, even when you don't want to listen. An example of planning going bad, somebody know a little bit about 606? Yeah. This was a grassroots project 15 years ago. I was part of that. We wanted a park. Why should a park be disruptive? Why should I have to think about whether I want park or I want housing? Why can't I have both? And so this was an example of when the powers that be put the willpower to make it happen, and the community would say, well, what's going to happen to housing? Unfortunately, it fell on deaf ears. And so what are we doing? We're doing some major intervention. Thanks to the Institute of Housing Studies at DePaul, we were able to do a study and looked and saw the significant number of 2- and 4-unit buildings in this corridor along the 606. So when we think of affordable housing, sometimes we just think about building a building and providing rental. But what about all those mom and pops who have rental units? They're affordable. How can we protect them? So real quickly, because I'm running out of time, we are proposing a tear-down ordinance. That's our word for it. Basically, every time a developer or someone tears down a unit of a building, that they would have to pay $250,000 to replace each of those affordable units. This is a number that comes from HUD. It's a real exciting opportunity, but it's also a challenge because there's so much distrust about where does that money go. We are proposing that the money stay in the community, but not many people are trusting that that's what would actually happen. But it is a straight important possibility for creating a pot of money that really stays in the community to support homeowners. I just want to lift up the work of the MPC, the cost of segregation, because at the end of the day, if we don't address gentrification, if we don't create a fabric, then our economy is not strong if we continue to segregate people as we are doing in Logan Square. And, I have a daughter, and I want her to be able to inherit our house, but unfortunately, we live in a real vulnerable state where I don't know if that's going to be possible. And I'm sorry to be the last one with such a downer, but this is so personal for me, and I hope that we continue to share best practices for our communities and that our communities continue to work together. Thank you.